Right, we are live. Hopefully this microphone is working because strangely it didn't want to work. Right, I'm going to keep this one pretty brief because I don't think this one needs to take very long. And it's a subject that's important because a lot of 40 plus executives want to, well, they want to achieve a few things. They want to be healthier, fitter, and they want to look better. And part of looking better and maintaining health and good metabolism, to be fair, comes down to maintaining muscle, or if your goals are a little bit more ambitious, building some muscle. But either way, your strategy as a whole has to include some resistance training. And there's a huge misconception that kind of building muscle takes really long sessions that have to be done very frequently. And I've talked about this a lot over the last few months. And this is obviously something that I believed, quite frankly, which is why if you look back in terms of my history of training, there was a time when I did 6 days a week and I fell into the trap of kind of more is better. So those 6 days a week didn't start at 6. I think I started at 5, then I went to 6, and gradually those 6 sessions became kind of longer in duration as well, as I started to kind of throw more exercises in, more things that I thought made the training more effective. And ultimately, I was wrong. And of course, a lot of you guys are, there's going to be a couple of things that happen with a lot of executives. That mentality might put you off trying in the first place, which would be a shame. So you might be thinking to yourself, well, I'm not really going to get the results that I want. Is it really worth the hassle? Is it worth the sacrifice? Is there a return on my investment? And then there'll be the other guys who, I talked about this yesterday, who maybe in January or for small periods try to overcommit to too much exercise, and maybe you succeed for a few weeks, maybe for a few months, but eventually you realize that you can't be overly consistent, and that lack of consistency results in poor results, poor progress, and then you ultimately kind of give up because you get fed up with doing all the effort and not quite looking in the mirror and being happy. So as the title says, transform your health, performance and confidence in just 60 minutes per week. This is something I've been, not to sound like I'm bragging, but this is something I've been saying that you could do for a long time, for probably the last several years at least, as I start to learn more about what really builds muscle. And of course, you might be thinking, Phil, I don't just want to build muscle. I don't just want to maintain muscle. I want to be fit. I want to be flexible. I want to be mobile. So that's why making sure that this kind of one box, the muscle building or the muscle maintenance box, is ticked in an efficient way. And before I go on, if you don't do some resistance training while you lose weight, there's a good chance that you will lose muscle. So you'll be weaker. You won't have the look that you want, and you will reduce your metabolism. So you have to, I don't care what your goals are, there is a place for some resistance training, but it doesn't have to be as much as you probably think. So how do we do it in 60 minutes per week? Well, like I said, I've been talking about this for several years now. And then just at the end of 2024, we had a study that came out, wasn't really specifically looking at duration of exercise, but the conclusion was that the variables that they changed, long story short, all resulted in muscle building. And they kind of noted in the conclusion that one of the great things about this study is it shows that all participants, despite being men and women that had already trained for a while, which is important because if it's going to work for somebody that's trained, it will definitely work for somebody who is a newbie, because we all get easier results in the beginning. But they concluded that you would get these results by doing 2 30-minute sessions per week, hence the 60 minutes per week. Will that be enough to optimize? No. If you're somebody that kind of thinks, no, Phil, I want to actually build muscle, then I would probably say you recommend you try and find 3 30-minute sessions per week, but 2 for a lot of you will be either a great start or will, quite frankly, just be enough. So what do they do? Or what should you do? Well, the typical mistakes are doing training splits, and that's just a fancy way of saying workout structures that are geared towards more advanced lifters. Social media has done this. When I first started personal training many years ago, almost 20 years ago now, we pretty much gave every single person that came into the gym 2 or 3. Bear in mind, I worked in a local gym that just had, normal people that just wanted to get fit and toned. We would give them just 2 or 3 full body workouts per week. I said this on a TikTok video in 2021, woke up in the morning to the most amount of views I've ever had on a video, something like 300,000, but a lot of hate where people were saying I was wrong. Well, the study that just came out showed that I wasn't. The typical mistakes are doing too complex training splits, where you have to be in the gym too frequently, doing too much volume. That is just a fancy way of saying doing too many sets of exercises that are challenging. To keep it simple, instead of doing 5 sets of push-ups, you don't do 5, you do 1, which immediately shaves off a lot of time. So a lot of you make the mistake of too complicated training splits, where you have to be in the gym for too many days per week and too many exercises, too many sets. Same mistake I made. Too many things that aim to make muscle building faster by doing advanced kind of what we call intensifiers, drop sets, rest pause sets, cheat sets, whatever. It all adds basically just to more time, because every set you do takes time, every set you do needs some recovery time. And then because you actually have to do a lot of training, a lot of you guys try to make it efficient by having really short rest periods. So you might do a set of push-ups, and then you might only rest for 30, 45, maybe 60 seconds before you repeat. Often that is down to you also wanting to burn calories, but that makes the strength training less effective. So that's just a long-winded way of saying, don't do too much, don't do it too often. What you're going to do then is 2 or 3. I know I've said 60 minutes, but for those of you that can do more than 60 minutes, you might do 3 sessions per week, or you might split the 2 30-minute sessions into 3 20-minute sessions. That can be an option that I do with clients sometimes who want really quick sessions and want to do them a little bit more frequently. And you're going to do full body sessions. Now, the reason why a lot of people struggle to understand full body training is because they've been brought up thinking that every exercise that you do needs 3 or 4, maybe 5 sets. If you go onto any social media app and you find someone who has posted their workout, you will see something like they'll show a selection of exercises, and often on the screen will come up with perform 3 sets of 10 or 4 sets of 12. And that's what I did many years ago, up until probably maybe about 10 years ago, as I started to learn a bit more. Problem is, it obviously takes too much time. You don't do that with full body training, especially as a beginner, and especially if you're doing compound exercises where you're working multiple muscles in an exercise. For example, we'll stick with the example of push-ups. You're not just using your chest, you are using the front of the shoulder, the anterior deltoid, and you are using the tricep, back of the arm. So it's very efficient when you're doing it like that. So instead of doing 3 sets of push-ups, you do 1. And I know this is a challenge because over Christmas I did it and it felt odd. And I give it to lots of my clients who have come to me and said they need the training to be more efficient and more effective. And they'll go from doing maybe 5, 6, 7 sets on their chest to me saying just do 1 or 2. And it feels weird because you don't really get the pump, you don't get the burn. It feels odd just to warm up and do a set and move on. It just doesn't feel normal for a lot of guys, but that's how you're going to do it. And you're just going to choose anywhere from kind of, I think in that study they did 5 exercises, I could be wrong, but you're just going to choose basically 1 exercise for kind of like a push, like a push up. You could do 1 overhead press, like a shoulder press. You could do 1 or 2 movements for your back, like 1 pull down and 1 horizontal pull, like a row. Immediately you've done your whole upper body there. You might be wondering, do I need to do bicep exercises? No, not initially. Your biceps and triceps will grow really well from the work they get in those compound movements. When I do pulls, biceps. When I do presses, triceps, they will grow. Eventually, and this is what I'm saying, eventually some of you will outgrow this program, and then you'll have to decide, can you find more time? Some of you won't need to, you'll just achieve the body that you want and you'll feel like it's sustainable. But for a lot of you, a full body approach like this could easily be done for 6 months to a year. And then obviously you could do some leg exercises, 1 for the quads, like a leg extension or a squat or a leg press, 1 for the hamstrings, like a hamstring curl or a stiff leg deadlift. That means you've ended up with like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's about 6 exercises. And you could rotate them through the week. 1 set each, couple of warm-up sets, and you are done. And that is why in that study, their sessions were only 30 minutes. Now, you could cut that time down because obviously if we're thinking about this in the real world, half an hour in the gym might be a 20-minute drive there, 5 minutes getting changed, half an hour in the gym, some stretching, getting changed, driving back. So that half an hour could end up being an hour or more for some of you. So what are the alternatives? Well, is it optimal? Well, in the beginning probably, but maybe not long term. But a lot of you could get really far with just working out in a lounge or conservatory, in a garage, or in an office with some dumbbells. During lockdown, I picked up a pretty good set of dumbbells and barbells that are actually still in the box. They were never used, funnily enough, because we didn't end up locked down again. They go up to about, I think it went up to 100 kilos. That lasts a lot of you quite long. Building up to 100 kilo lifts. Or you could use bands. Funny enough, a video came up on Facebook today of me from lockdown doing some bands in this very room. And I think during lockdown, I bought 2 sets of bands, which gave me a decent amount of resistance. One set of bands should give you about 70 kilos of resistance. So 2, 150. They're like 25 pounds. In the video that I posted in lockdown, I bought myself a rope attachment, some extra clips, probably spent about 50 quid. And I could get some pretty decent workouts done. Enough to sustain, maintain muscle during lockdown. For you guys, certainly enough kit to build muscle without traveling to the gym. So there are your options. And the reason why I'm talking about this is I'm trying to think, okay, what are the barriers for an executive? It's going to be time, trying to find the time to exercise. And it's going to be from a nutritional point of view, which I covered yesterday, and I'll talk about more over the coming weeks. It's going to be how do we stay on track while we travel, attend business meetings, and of course, just have the usual stuff like a social life. How do we make this something that really fits the lifestyle that you have? And from a muscle building point of view, that is the thing you'll do. 2 half-an-hour sessions per week, 3 if you need to. And then, of course, if you can find the time to do that, and you can add in some extra steps, like I'm doing now, this is just an efficient way for me to get some steps in. And you can, of course, control your diet. You can lose belly fat, build your strength so you feel more confident, you look better, and you're healthier, and you're more energized as a leader, as a man, without feeling like you are juggling too much and wondering, how long am I actually going to be able to stick this out? Hopefully that helps as a kind of summary. 2 full body resistance plans, workouts per week. 3, if you've got time, either at the gym or at home. 1 exercise for each muscle group. Make it a compound. That's where 2 joints move. So the difference is like a press is a compound, a pec fly is an isolation because 1 joint versus 2. Work hard, progressively get stronger, hit the whole body. And honestly, I think if you do that, I know if you do that, you'll be able to be more, you'll be more consistent. So that will play a factor. But I think if you do that, you will get better results than some of the guys who are training in the gym 5 or 6 days a week. I know that because I have just recently rejoined a gym that I left a year ago, and everybody looks the same. But I will talk about that in another video. Hopefully that helps. That's 0.7 of a kilometer for me, so that's a good start. A little bit of addition to my steps. I'll be back on tomorrow. If you'd like some help with any of this, because you're busy, it'd be much better for you to wake up every day, open my app and go, well, Phil said to do this, to walk this much, to do these exercises, to eat these foods on this business trip, and you want someone to check in on you. You want to be part of a, dare I say it myself, a really cool community of guys like you who are getting incredible results despite the limitations that they have. Then send me a message with the word workout. We can have a chat, see if I can help you, and go from there. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll be back on tomorrow, I would imagine.